Much easier here to work with the left side. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to convert everything into sine and cosine. And really the reason I'm doing that is because if you look here, this is pretty ugly on top, this is ugly on the bottom, and I'm going to basically make a complex fraction, so a fraction within a fraction. So here I've got secant, which is 1 over the cosine, and here I've got tangent, which is sine over cosine. On the bottom, I've got cotangent, which is cosine over sine. And then over here, I've just got cosine, and I'm put it over 1 just so that it looks like a fraction. Okay. Now, I'm going to get a common denominator on the top and on the bottom. The top already, the numerator already has a common denominator. So, here I've already got cosine, so I'm going to go like this. 1 plus sine theta over cosine theta. Now the denominator needs, this guy over here needs to have a sine in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this. Whoops. So this is going to be cosine theta plus sine theta times cosine theta. Let's extend that over sine theta. So what I did here, if you can't tell, is I took this guy right here and I said, let's multiply top and bottom there by sine. And if I do that, now I got a common denominator here. So this is sine theta times cosine theta. Remember, it doesn't matter the order I put it in because it's multiplication. So this guy times this guy, they can rotate spots over sine theta. So that's now, this is equivalent to this guy right here. So now when I add them, I get this ugly mess. So what do I do with it? Well, what I'm going to do here is, notice how I have a 1 plus sign here. Okay, let me do this first. So whenever you have a fraction on the top and a fraction on the bottom, so people would say a fraction in the numerator and one in the denominator, you're going to take the numerator, the top, and multiply it by the flip, or the reciprocal of the bottom. So that I've got room, I'll just write it on this line lower. Let me divide this so that you don't get these confused with what I'm going to write down here. So I'm continuing, guys. I'm just putting it down here. So this is going to be 1 plus the sine of an angle over the cosine of the angle. But now I want to multiply it by this thing flipped. So sine is now going to go on top, this guy, and this is going to go on bottom. Like that. Okay. So when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, it'd be really nice. Well, I could just multiply across. Okay. I'm going to come up with a really ugly mess. So what I'm going to do is I see that I got a 1 plus sign here, and I don't have 1 down here. So the trick is I'm going to factor out this cosine. So when I do that, the left side stays the same. Or the left fraction, I guess I could say. And the right top numerator stays the same. But notice what I get on that lower right. I get 1 plus sign. And so now I've got a 1 plus sign up here and a 1 plus sign down here. So these guys are going to cancel. So what am I left with? Well, on the top, let's draw it over here. On the top, I've got just sine. And in the denominator, I've got cosine times cosine. So here's what I'm going to do. You could put cosine squared, always remember what you want to get. I want to get a tangent and a secant, so I need two terms. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break this up like this. I'm going to say this is sine times 1, because you can multiply anything by 1. Now I'm going to have sine theta over cosine theta times 1 over cosine theta. And you might be saying, well, how do you know how to do that? Well, look, one is there's practice involved here, okay? But two, if I worked my way backward, 1 times sine is sine, and cosine times cosine is cosine squared. So really, the process here is I've seen this trick done a bunch of times, and I've done it myself a bunch of times, so that when I see what I want to have it equal to up here at the top, the whole process I'm thinking about trying to get that. And this is going to get me there, because sine over cosine is tangent, and 1 over cosine is secant. So there I've got my tangent times my secant. It takes practice, lots and lots of practice. Okay, so you work through these problems, you see these tricks, you try to remember those tricks, and you struggle a little bit. You work through a problem and you say, well, I couldn't get there. Now what's the trick? And sometimes you get to a dead end, and other times you're able to solve it very very quickly. So just keep with it.